Good evening, everyone. And welcome. My name's Dale Pearce. I'm Principal of the College. Some of you will know me, some of you won't. My face will become very familiar to you, as will a few other faces that you'll see here this evening. I want to start by acknowledging that we're meeting on Jara country and pay my respects to the Jara people, their elders past, present and emerging. And I'll start by saying that when we issue advice for these evenings, we're never quite sure that the advice will land, but it obviously has, because I can see you're all wearing your masks, or just about everybody is. The advice for that sort of thing keeps changing. We understand that you don't actually need to this evening, so some of you may choose to relax. However, as a precaution, it's probably a sensible thing to do. The other thing that you'll become aware of as you come in here to the college is that parking is often quite difficult, and I know as I walked across this evening, I could see a lot of people turning around at the little roundabout and heading back out. There's actually, I felt a little sorry for a few parents, and I did point some in the right direction. There are 60 or 70 further car parks along just past the gym on the left, but you've all found your way in here, which is wonderful. I'm going to start this evening off by just giving you an introduction to the college, and I'll then hand across to Michael Lennon, one of our assistant principals, who'll take you through some further, more detailed information. So our job tonight really is just to welcome you to the college. So we want to make sure that everybody gets off to a great start next year. We're really, really excited to have our students in here, our 2022 students, our new students in here for an orientation either this Thursday or Friday, and then for a full week of our step-up classes next week. This time last year we weren't able to do that, and I have to say that our Year 11 students who started this year started a little behind the eight ball, because they didn't have that opportunity to come in and familiarise themselves with the campus and the way that things work here. But if you're a student here tonight, you will have that opportunity, and we are genuinely excited about that. We're excited to be able to run this evening. We couldn't do this last year. We ran it, recorded it and then streamed it out and did a Q&A. But it's just fantastic for us to have reached this point where we can have people in to our events, we can have visitors into the college, we can do many things in pretty much a normal way. So that's a great place for us to be in. This is what we believe in at our college. We believe in really supporting and empowering our learners to go on and be leaders in our community and beyond in a range of ways. And I won't step through everything there other than to say that we will use this language, and sometimes we'll talk about engagement rather than environment, but we'll use that language with our students and with you as families right through your time here. And we've got a whole series of things that sit below each of those. What does respect look like here? What does it mean to demonstrate respect if you're a student? What does it mean to demonstrate respect if you're a staff member, if you're a parent or a member of the community? So we spell a lot of those things out, and we'll start taking students through that over the next week, and supporting parents as well. It's really important that we understand the language of the college and what we're trying to do to support our students and our families, because ultimately we want them all to be successful. We want every student to be successful. And for us, what that means is that when you leave here, which in 95 to 98% of cases is going to be at the end of Year 12, because you should set out with that in mind to actually complete the journey, that when you leave here, being successful means that you've got options, that you get to where you want to go to. For many of our students, that'll be university. For others, it'll be a TAFE course. For some, it'll be into full-time work. For some people, it'll be an apprenticeship. But whatever it is, that's our job, to help you get there. And we don't make any bones about this. We recognise and support and value everybody individually, whether your pathway is to an apprenticeship, directly into work, off to a TAFE course, off to university somewhere around Australia. You're all important. Every individual student is important to us, and we will work really hard to support you to get to wherever it is that you want to go to. The flip side of that is that at the age you're at, students need to start to take some responsibility as well. And I think all of our students coming into us next year, you've been through a really rough patch over the last 2 years. You've been in and out of school. You've been doing remote learning. You've been in school. You've been through lockdowns. You've been in and out. And that's been really difficult and really challenging for you. I've got no doubt about that. We've all been through that here, and we've seen it with our students here over the last 2 years. But I'm really thankful that I think we're at the point now where, courtesy of a really, really high vaccination rate, that next year is going to look something much more like normal. I think we'll find, as we're seeing around Bendigo and around the state at the moment, we'll find that schools, some classes of students or groups of students might need to isolate for a period of time. But I think our days of whole school closures and extended closures are behind us. So I want everybody to approach next year, unless things go pear-shaped, we are going to be here, and we're going to be here right through the year. We will get over whatever bumps arise along the way, and we'll do that together. But I want that message to be really clear, that we know how difficult the last 2 years has been for some of you. And it's not a matter of putting that behind you, because the foundation that you pick up right through school is what enables you to become successful. In here last Friday, I spoke to our graduating students, our graduating class of Year 12s, seated right across the theatre, right where you're seated now. And I spoke to them about how important it was, and reminded them of how important it was that they built towards their success. That as they walked across this stage, all nicely dressed up last Friday, that they got to that point as a result of continued effort and application and hard work right from the time that they began school, and the support of their families, the support of their friends, and the support of their schools and their individual teachers right over that time. So this is a journey that you've been on, and you're at the point where you're about to enter your final year or two of secondary school, and what you've done before matters. It matters a lot, because you will have developed, I hope, the habits to be successful. And we'll talk about some of those as we go through this evening. Those habits are really important. So these are the things that we expect from you. We expect you to take responsibility for those things that are on the screen. Doesn't mean you do it on your own. It means that you have the support of family, you have the support of friends, and you'll have the support of everybody here, all of our staff at the college. But there's a significant responsibility upon you as a young adult to recognise, here I am, I'm in Year 11, Year 12's ahead of me, and beyond that, the rest of my life. What sort of a student am I going to be? How am I going to be successful? What do I need to do to be successful? And almost above everything on that screen, the thing that I place value on is effort. Because it doesn't matter whether your aspiration is to go off and do law or medicine, or to work in some other field, to go directly to an apprenticeship, to a TAFE course, to wherever you want to go. Effort is important. And effort will beat ability every day of the week. Every day of the week. I can guarantee you, when the Year 12 results are released just before the end of this school year, that we will have students in Year 12 here at our school, and this will be the same right around the state. We'll have students who will be disappointed with their results. And they'll look and they'll say, if only I knew I could have done better than that. And we'll have students who will outperform them. We'll have students who will beat them in the race to that university course, beat them in the race to that job, beat them in the race to that apprenticeship, because they've worked harder. If we stand two students alongside one another, with equal ability, the one who works harder is going to do better. And that's going to be the same right throughout your life. There is no substitute for hard work and effort. And all it takes in our environment is the right attitude. So focus on doing as well as you can. Focus on completing your work. Focus on being here. I was just talking with Michael outside a few moments ago before we started about the importance of attendance. at Year 11 and Year 12. Because if you're doing a VCE program, then sure, at the end of Year 12, there's a series of external exams, but roughly 50% of your assessment comes from within the school. It's the judgments that your teachers make about how you're progressing and the standard of your work. And we need to be able to authenticate your effort and your work. We need to be able to demonstrate, to know and understand that that's your work, that you've produced it. And an important part of that is being here. Being here to enable us to see you doing that work. Being here so that we can support you when questions arise. So attendance is really important. And your behaviour is important. We'll talk to students a little more directly about that at the beginning of next year. But the rule of thumb again, you're approaching the time when you can be viewed as a young adult, so take some responsibility. Be sensible, show respect for other students, show respect for staff, show respect for the college, family and friends. And put simply, if you do the right thing, you'll progress and you'll do very well. We try to measure that. Every 6 weeks next year, you'll receive a little progress report from us. And what it'll do is that we use a series of 8 key indicators, and you can see them listed on the screen here. And each of your teachers will rate you against each of those things every 6 weeks. When you look at them, there's something that's missing. What's missing is ability and achievement. This is not about ability and achievement. It's about those work habits. You can get the highest possible rating from each of your teachers for those things, regardless of your ability or the grades that you get. So this is about character. It's about being the type of student that we know you need to be successful. So keep an eye out for our Empowered Learning Indicator, or what we call our ELI. And you should be looking at that as a parent alongside the grades that you'll see, because they both matter. So if we move along to talk about parents, it really is a partnership in learning. I've mentioned twice, I think, or maybe 3 times this evening, the age of these students here at Year 11 and 12, and the fact that they're, sometimes treated, and we try to treat them as responsible young adults. That doesn't mean that as a parent you can let go, or you should let go. I think this is part of the challenge of being a parent, isn't it? As a parent of a teenager myself, kids start to show a bit more independence, and they want to be able to make their own decisions, and they don't want mum or dad or the family member or the carer looking over their shoulder and checking on everything that they're doing. But I can tell you that Year 11 and Year 12 in particular can be really challenging. Year 12, a student doing a Year 12 course, and it's challenging doing VCAL, and it's equally challenging doing a VCE course in Year 12. It requires sustained effort, as I've said, and there will be some time in that where you'll go up and down, and there'll be times when you hit the wall. So this is not the time as a parent to be backing off and saying, look, I'll let my child go. You need to be there with them all the time. So it can be a really stressful journey for Year 12 students, but they'll get through it if they have the support of friends, if they have the support of staff here, and if they have the support of family. So please, it's really important as family that you keep an eye on how students are going. So your encouragement, your support's important. We'll explain to you as we go through this evening about how you can monitor progress through Compass, and I know that many of our students are coming from schools where they're familiar with Compass. You'll see how we use it here. But you'll be able to see, as a parent, you'll be able to see what work has been submitted, you'll be able to see what grades have been achieved. So if you invest a little time, that gives you, and looking at those things, it gives you a great basis for conversation with students. So stay in touch. If you have concerns, if you've got questions, then please contact us. Nothing disappoints me more than finding out that something's gone really badly or things have turned bad for one of our students, if only we'd known and been able to intervene and put some support in place earlier, if only teachers had known. So please, if there's something going on in a student's life that's going to impact upon them here at school, please let us know. Anything that we can do to help, we will. There are lots of other ways to become involved in the college. In February, I'll have a call out for people who may wish to nominate to be on our college council. Half of the membership turns over every year. If you've been involved in the school council before, then that might be something that interests you. From time to time, we'll run parent forums, most often in here, but sometimes in smaller venues on niche topics. Particularly for Year 12 students, but often for Year 11 students, and often early in the year about the use of Compass as well. So keep your eye out and please come in for those if they're of interest to you. Sometimes we're looking for host families, not so much at the moment. We have an international student program, so we have students coming from different parts of the world to complete their VCE here. And of course, the travel restrictions, the COVID-related travel restrictions have really dampened that. Nobody's been able to get into the country, let alone out. And so we'll be working hard next year to build our international program back up. And when that happens, sometimes we will bring in students from other countries on study tours. We have exchange students from many different parts of the world. A lot of our international students will come from China. They may come from Vietnam, sometimes from around the Middle East. And when that happens, we're often looking for host families, short-term, sometimes long-term for those. So that's another opportunity for you to be involved. As I've mentioned, contact the college if you've got questions or concern, and please come in for our parent-teacher interviews. We'll run 2 sets of those, one in the first half of the year and one in the second, and it's really important that you come in. Over the last year or two, we've run some of those remotely, and we've got some feedback from parents that that's actually a reasonably good way of doing it. So we're not quite sure how we'll approach that next year, but it'll probably be some combination. It'll probably be some of those will be in here and some of them may be done remotely. This one you should be familiar with because all schools around the state have implemented this over the last year or two, and we almost dropped it out of tonight's presentation because I think parents will understand and students will understand what the mobile phone policy looks like in schools. But we'll leave it up here tonight because of the third dot point that appears there. We expect our students to be really well in touch with what's going on around the college. And we communicate with them a lot via Compass. We have messages out to Compass. Our students will be able to follow their timetable on Compass. If they've got a room change or something, we'll let students know via Compass. So we allow our students to be able to access their phones during recess and lunchtime. Not when they've got a study period. So we run 7 blocks on our timetable. Students will typically have 5, maybe 6 classes. So you'll have some spare periods or study periods. Don't access your phone then. Don't sit outside and access your phone. It's recess and lunchtime only. At other times, your phone needs to be way out of sight. We don't want to see it. And the reasons for that are fairly obvious. I think there's fairly good evidence that it's a distraction to students. There will be times when teachers may say, look, I need you to bring your phone. I need you to do this little video. I need you to take a photo of this experiment we're doing in biology or something like that. Your teachers will let you know. We know the vast majority of our students will have phones. You can bring them to school, that's okay, but don't have them out in class. They're a distraction. Now, I've touched on communication a few times in different ways. I've mentioned Compass. Michael will talk a little bit more about that shortly. Our structure here, most of you will be familiar with. Each of our students is part of a small advisor group, usually around 17 students, 18, 19, 16. It varies a little bit. The advisor will teach those students, so they have classroom contact as well as their one advisor meeting on a Monday each week. But beyond that level, and the advisor is usually the first point of contact here. But beyond that level, there's a coordinator. You'll see pictures of who your coordinators are up on the screen shortly when Michael talks. and you'll be with that Year 11 team next year. They will follow you through to Year 12. So the same set of coordinators will follow you through, and they will get to know you really well. So our coordinators, Michael, our assistant principal for engagement and wellbeing, has a role, and he'll explain his role when you'll pick that up when he talks this evening. I've mentioned the parent-teacher interviews. There's advice, I think, in the little pamphlet that you've picked up here. There's reference to our parent handbook, which is available online. Our college website is a great source of information. And one thing we do on the last day before school breaks this year is we'll put up a series of frequently asked questions and answers onto our website and onto our Facebook page that will provide you with some information about the beginning of next year. Some of it is captured here in this little brochure this evening, but some of it will, other information will go up onto the website. It's a great website. There's a mountain of information there. I encourage you as a family to sit down and have a look at it. We publish a range of information through our website, a little e-news. Our Facebook page is very, very active, and it's a great way to stay in touch. All of our important information that we share with you will come directly to you via email. I hope we've got the right email address for you, but it will also go out on our website, and will also, in most cases, hit our Facebook page. We've got a Twitter feed, we've got a YouTube channel, you'll find those things. So that's almost it from me this evening. I want to close by talking about parent payments in two senses, and this is probably almost a more important page, that you should have received a book list from us, and we use the term book list as a sort of a gather-all because it picks up on that book list, it picks up other fees and charges as well for excursions. It's not just about textbooks or calculators. But I want to emphasise that we will provide you with everything that you need to be successful here. But there is a great advantage to be gained in Year 11 and 12 from not relying upon a class set of a textbook. Having your own copy of those resources, I think, is really important for students to be successful, because you need access to them outside class, you need access for homework, you need access on weekends, and even sometimes at holiday time. So that book list does include more than books. If you follow those instructions, what you'll do is you'll find the subjects that your child is doing, you'll identify those, you'll mark them off on the checklist, and then you'll go to the website and enter what you need to there. And my final slide is to talk about voluntary contributions. We have, and this is not for everybody, but it is for some families. We have two tax-deductible funds. One is a building fund and one is a library fund, and there are details here on the screen of what we do with those. So we ask parents to make a contribution to that. You don't have to. If you do, it's fully tax deductible. We're fortunate that a number of years ago we did work with the Australian Taxation Office to have those both approved, and they help us to add a little bit of extra value to the lives of all of our students here. And we're always really grateful to those families who are able and willing to make that contribution. Thank you for your time. I'm going to hand across to Michael. I really do appreciate you coming out this evening. As I said earlier, I hope if you come back next time you remember those car parks further along. And Michael Lennon, one of our assistant principals, will take you through the rest of this evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dale. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for taking time to come out this evening. My part of tonight's presentation should be about 15 minutes or so, hopefully. So thank you for bearing with us, and thank you for your commitment tonight. It's really important to that positive start. There's a few slides that I want to talk about, and one I want to start is with a point that Dale made about pathways. We're really proud of our college and our focus and our support for students to move into a range of different pathways when they finish school. Not only are we inclusive and looking to support students and move off into different directions, we appreciate that all of you coming and starting with us next year come from a variety of backgrounds and journeys to get to this point. And we celebrate that individuality. and we think it's a really strong feature of our college. We have a large number of students starting with us next Monday, somewhere around 950 new students we welcome into the college every year. And every one of those is an individual and everyone is important. Their background, their culture, what they bring with them is really important to the college and accepted by all. So part of our college values around respect is highlighted in our zero tolerance around disrespectful, discriminatory behaviour and things like that. So we celebrate that. One of the things we invest time and energy into is our inclusion ambassador roles. So if you do have a passion and an interest around inclusion, I encourage students to think about being a part of that. Very similar to student leadership teams, student representative groups. We have our inclusion ambassadors and we provide training and support for that as well. Bendigo Senior is a child-safe environment. We're committed to the safety of all young people and will continue to do that. So all of our staff are aware of their requirements and their support to make sure that all young people are supported at the college. Students will participate in respectful relationship programs, so curriculum across all schools around supporting the inclusion and supporting the respect of gender and identity, as well as young people and things. We run that through our study centre program. So all Year 11s will participate in a study program during their study periods at the beginning of the year. Through that program, we support and run educational activities around inclusiveness, around building positive relationships. And that's continued on through our advisor program that Dale mentioned before. So it's not only a respectful and inclusive place and a safe place for all young people to learn, but it's a safe and respectful place for all of our staff to work. And we model and lead that behaviour and we want our students to do that as well. Dale's mentioned a few times about the age and about the responsibility, and that's one of the key things for our students to, respect our environment, respect the workplace and the learning place for all people. Dale touched on before about our advisors, that first point of contact for parents. We begin the year next year, and I'll speak a little bit more about this later in the presentation, but we begin the year by meeting with advisors. So each student is allocated an advisor. Dale said, they teach everyone. That's my aim every year in the allocation, to try and ensure that the advisor teaches students. And obviously, if the principal says, it will happen again. So we'll make sure that everyone is taught by their advisor, and if not, it's very, very close to everyone. What that does is it builds a really good relationship. As your teacher and as your advisor, we really get to know you as an individual, your journey through the college, supporting your pathways, your directions. We help with your well-being at times in stressful moments. We support your enrolments for the following year. And we help you to achieve your best and support you along the way. Each of our advisors are then in turn supported by our student engagement coordinators. So like a year level coordinator, very similar to that model, we have student engagement coordinators that work with our Year 11s and student engagement coordinators that work with our Year 12s. Our student engagement coordinators oversee your program, so perhaps already been in contact with you about subject selections, about enrolment into the college. You may have seen us talk at assemblies at some of our 7 to 10 schools in previous years, perhaps not this year. We support and monitor attendance and academic progress. Sometimes we contact and call home to engage that support of your family to help as well. If you have concerns about your subjects or if there's illnesses impacting on your schooling, it might be that you need consideration for your assessments or your learning program at this college, then you get in touch with your coordinator. Part of the tour later this week, students will get to know our Student Services Centre, one of our main areas for students to seek support and go into. So our student engagement coordinators are all in our Student Services Centre. Our team, we're in here, as Dale mentioned last Friday, for the graduation of our Year 12s. We started that journey with them 2 years ago, exactly like tonight, as induction to Year 11, and now we get to start that process with all of you again. As your Year 11 team, and I know that might be some Year 12s in the audience, but the majority of you will be beginning Year 11 with us. We're a group of 5 people that will be supporting your journey over the next 2 years. So myself and Jan and Laura are here tonight from the team, and we're available afterwards for questions, and I'll come back to that. But we really enjoy that experience of working through the 2 years that you're here at the college. Also, some might be 3 years. We really enjoy supporting you through that journey and helping with all of those things that I mentioned before. And at our student assemblies later in the week, our coordinators will be presenting at them, and you will see them there as well. For those of you who are joining us into Year 12, we have the same team, same structure for our Year 12 team. They've been supporting Year 11s this year, and they'll follow those students through to Year 12. And you can see them on the screen. Attendance is a really critical point, and I know that Dale mentioned this just before. I suppose we're highlighting it again because it has been a difficult 2 years. There have been a range of situations in regard to being physically in class in front of your teachers over the last 2 years, and that's perhaps slightly different for everyone depending on the situation. As Dale mentioned, hopefully we don't have any further extended lockdowns. But part of the assessments in VCE or VCAL, it's critical that your teachers can authenticate the work. So we must see the development, we must see that regular improvement of those skills so we can validate that and therefore pass. Handing in homework and things like that where we haven't seen you for a couple of weeks or we haven't seen the build-up of those skills simply can't be assessed in senior curriculum. So it's critical that attendance is there, and then you're demonstrating the skills as well. You can't demonstrate the skills in isolation. If students are away, we understand that there are reasons sometimes for being absent, illness and things like that, then there's contact that we encourage through the school. If you've been at some of the 7 to 10 colleges with Compass as our management system, then you'll be familiar with entering those attendance information on Compass, and we encourage the same. There is a contact number where you can leave a message as well. If we don't hear from parents or guardians and there is an unexplained absence, then we do contact home each night via a text message, and if there is a reason, you can then enter it. But if we don't have a reason for an absence, then we make sure to communicate with families so you're aware of that, and we mark the roll for every period of every session of every day. You don't get a message for every one of those, you do just get a summative text at the end of each day. Some of the really positive things that go on in our college that we want students to get involved in, we want your effort, we want your commitment into your subjects, but we also want you to be a part of the broader focus of our college. So one of those is our student leadership team. One of the big differences that we like to promote here, that our student leadership team isn't by vote, it isn't by account. Anyone who is interested and wants to be a part of our student leadership team can be and will be. The commitment there is a participation in 80% of their meetings at lunchtime and things, and there's a range of roles within our student leadership team. Not all of them are presenting and supporting our teams to do our assemblies and presentations. Some of them are around about media and promotion. Some are around social issues. There's a whole range of things that you can get involved in the student leadership team for. So we encourage you to think about not just what you do in the classroom, but what you get involved in outside. If you'd like to be involved in our student leadership team, then there will be a process of putting your hand up via email. You don't need to have been on leadership teams before, and we really encourage you, if you haven't taken that opportunity before, to do that now while you're at senior. So there'll be more of that in the first week of next year, so what we call blast off. So in our first week next year, we really encourage students to put their hand up for our student leadership team. One of the other things coming up over the next couple of months that we'd like you to get involved in is revision lectures. So if you've chosen a VCE program with us, you'd like to get a head start on some of those subjects and some of that content, learn more about that before your teachers go through, then you can subscribe and join one of these VCE revision lectures. So they're online, 2-hour interactive. You get some hard copy notes and things like that. So if you're willing to participate and you want to get involved, please have a look next week during your Step Up week at your Compass page, and we'll take students through how to log into the Bendigo Senior Compass, and there'll be information items on there for you as well. Later this week, we start the process with our orientation days. So depending on what school you're coming from, you'll either be coming along and joining us on Thursday or on Friday. And we start the day with a student assembly and presentation in here. So on Thursday or on Friday, come along and join. There will be a program to settle into the college, get to know a range of staff, have a look around, a bit of a tour, and learn a little bit more about our structure from the student perspective, getting involved. Following the orientation days on Thursday and Friday this week, we have a full week of our program next week. So a full week of classes from Monday to Friday. And we call that our Step Up program, so our 2022 classes. By and large, they'll be your 2022 teachers, rooms, programs, the works. We do have some staff changeover at the end of the year. There are some staff moving and we'll have some new staff next year. But by and large, the majority of the teachers that you meet next week will be your teachers for next year. And the work that we begin next week is the very first week of work as well. So really critical to a positive start, really important to begin those subjects, coming along next week and doing that. And there's also a nice Christmas present. You'll get some homework to take home with you as well, to do over that break. Our present to you. I know, we are kind. Thought it might have been a show bag today. No, it's definitely homework. That's our gift. So I know that everyone's interested now. As Dale mentioned, we really appreciate and thank you for coming out. I know that parking is tricky and getting through the check-in and things like that. We are becoming accustomed to it, but I know that it takes some time and effort. So we're very thankful for that commitment. The positive start that you've begun by coming in tonight and being involved in this, the messages that you take away tonight and talk about as a family are really important, and they're a critical step into a successful start with Bendigo Senior. As I mentioned, Laura and Jan from our Year 11 team were here, and Michael Morrissey as well. We encourage you to remain in the theatre if you have any questions, so please don't feel the need to run off. If there are things that we can answer or questions that you have, we're more than happy to stay around and support those. But otherwise, we thank you very much for coming. There are some change of details form. I nearly forgot it. Michael, I think, inferred that I would. But we have some change of details things. So Dale mentioned about email addresses. Those contact information is really critical over the next couple of months. So if any home address or contact information has changed, please see us out in the foyer and we've got some forms. But if you've got any questions, please remain here. But otherwise, safe journey home, and thanks so much for coming along.